One of life's most startling lessons to learn is that once it's out, you can't get the toothpaste back inside the tube. This is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day one of the Torah portion, Vayeshev, and it's translated as, and he dwelt. It says in Genesis, Bereshit chapter 37, beginning with verse 1, and Yaakov dwelt, Vayeshev, in the land of his father's sojournings in the land of Canaan. This is the genealogy of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. And the young man was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought an evil report of them to his father. And Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a long robe. The problem is, it says that when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all of his brothers, they hated him and were not able to speak peaceably to him. We've all heard the horror stories, or maybe you personally experienced the tragedy of a parent having a favorite among the siblings. We all have that sibling rivalry, jealousy thing going on perhaps from time to time. It's an unfortunate reality, and it does take place, and it does shape our worldview, our life experience, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes it can shape us spiritually. In our reading, we find that Joseph is with the sons of the concubines' wives, secondary wives. These are legal wives. They're of a secondary class, however, as they are handmaidens that have been given to Yaakov. The rabbis teach that he had already worn out his welcome with the sons of Leah, that they had all of Joseph and his superiority complex, his aloof attitude, and they'd already had all they could stomach of him. So now he was hanging out with the brothers from Bilhah and Zilpah. Now he goes to daddy, to Yaakov, and he's tattletaling on these brothers and burning that bridge as well. The problem is, Joseph is destined for greatness. He is to be the greatest of the brothers, perhaps on parallel with Yehuda at the end of things. But a natural-born leader, a wise person in his latter years. Here, he is an immature 17-year-old who is full of himself. Nevertheless, Daddy, Yaakov, sees him as the star child. He is the hero of the brothers. And he is apparently, by the receipt of this long robe, this colored robe, it's a type of robe that would go down over the hands, signifying that, if you're going to do manual labor, you don't need such a garment. It signifies you're not destined for manual labor. You're royalty. So therefore, someone else does the manual labor for you. So Daddy petting him, Daddy obviously doting on him and setting him higher than his brothers didn't set well. In the book of Mark, chapter number 9, it says in verse 33, and they came to Capharnaum, that is to Capernaum, and being in the house, he, that is Yeshua, asked them, he is asking his disciples, what was it you disputed among yourselves on the way? Evidently, Yeshua heard them arguing among themselves and didn't say anything. He waited until they got into a house, and they were silent. For on the way they had disputed with one another who was the greatest. And sitting down, he called the 12 and said to them, if anyone wishes to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. That just goes against the grain of the American way. And the ideal American pursuit of our greatest dreams, you work hard, you save a lot, you spend little, you accumulate until you're able to purchase your next step up on the ladder. And sometimes that just means cutting off relationships. Sometimes that means getting over on someone, taking advantage of someone else's ability for your own benefit. And we justify ourselves by saying it's not personal, it's just business. When it comes to family relationships, gaining the greatest amount of approval from parents sometimes means telling on your sibling. Sometimes it means pushing and shoving and then blaming them. My mom knew how to fix this. She would come into a room where we had been pushing and shoving and battling against each other and asked who started it. And of course, we're both pointing, and each other. And her reasoning was, I'll get the right one. I'll whip both of you. And that way I know I get the right one. Well, of course, we're all pleading, well, you're punishing the innocent with the guilty. That didn't hold up in her court of law. So we both got it. And she's right. She got the right one. More often than not, we were both guilty. We're all guilty. The reality is this: people are more important than yourself. Now, let me explain that. I'm not saying that you don't matter. You do. And it's not to say you should let people get over on you and take advantage of you. That's not true. Stand up for yourself. Stand your ground. Do what is right. If you're going to endure, if you're going to be accused, if you're going to have issues, let it be for righteousness' sake and not personality. He who has the last word doesn't always end up being the one who is right. He who yells the loudest does not necessarily win an argument or a debate. Truth wins out in the end every time. Ultimately, truth will prevail. It doesn't always seem to be the case in the immediacy of the conflict. It may be that a mom or a dad or whoever the esteemed family member is, they may never come to the conclusion of your value. They may never realize that they should love all of their children equally, or however the family dynamic is playing out. The thing that we can do is we can walk as righteously as we know how. We prefer our brother, sometimes even our blood brother. We prefer those that are around us. We serve. In this regard and in this manner, you may not win and gain the acknowledgement and the approval of those in this life that you think is important. But your Messiah in heaven esteems you and looks at you and says, now that one is first. When we learn to serve, when we learn to push other people up higher than we're trying to climb ourselves, we gain the smile and the approval of Messiah. And after that, what else really matters? And let me just say this in closing. Our Heavenly Father is big enough and great enough that you're all his favorite. Be reminded of that today. You are the Father's favorite. And I'll see you again tomorrow. To this, shalom.